Welcome back to Football 301. It's the fifth quarter where we recap the best of the NFL Sunday slate. And this week, the Saturday slate, we're going to be recapping Week 16. It's me, Nate Tice. And to help me do that today on the fifth quarter to recap those games, Mr. Four Verts, Charles McDonald. How you doing today, Chuck?
I'm doing all right. You know, it's 3 days before Christmas, 2.5 really. So I'm literally just trying to get to the end of like Monday, maybe, so I can just sleep and eat some food. If I get a present, that's fine. But really, I just need to get to the day so I can just lay down. Just lay down for
That's
a bit, you know?
I got my last gifts finally coming in tomorrow, and then I can wrap them. And then I'm like, all right, good. No more gifts. And then we can just jump right into it. Like, jump right into the holidays, just like jump right into the show. We're going to get into game one of the fifth quarter. We like to do 5 games or 5 things that we learned, biggest takeaways, or just things that we found most entertaining. Sometimes it's hit and miss, but I think we had some good ones this week. Game one, this one got a lot of eyeballs. This was the Eagles and the Commanders on their rematch in the NFC East. The Commanders took this one 36-33, came storming back. I thought the Eagles had this one, and then Jalen Hurts gets a concussion in the first quarter. Kenny Pickett, Kenny Pickles, comes on in for the third quarter. Got a little sloppy. I'll dive into some stats in a second, but Jayden Daniels finishes with 5 touchdowns. The Commanders defense really stepped up as the game went along. Yeah, wow. This was for about 3 quarters. I thought I kind of saw how this game was going to go, and then all of a sudden just some stuff happened. But your takeaway from this game, Charles, Commanders win another wild one in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, you called Kenny Pickles, but I think in the fourth quarter, they would have rather had Tommy Pickles as their quarterback, you know, take it back to the Rugrats days. That was crazy what happened in this game. And like you said, for the first 3 quarters, even with the Jalen Hurts injury, which happened pretty early, the Eagles were still in command of this game. Like, even with the score, I still feel pretty confident saying they're a much better team than the Commanders, because you get to the third quarter, through 3 quarters, they were up 27-14. Going into the fourth quarter in a game which they lost 36-33 without overtime. Or did it get to overtime? No, it didn't get to overtime.
No, OT.
No, because they won on the final drive of the game. So in the fourth quarter, the Commanders had a rushing success rate of 75%, overall success rate of 59%, 0.5 EPA per play, 7.33 points per drive, and only 1 turnover. So, I mean, if you give up all that in the fourth quarter, you deserve to lose for sure.
Right.
That's just a collapse that I don't think that any team would dream that they would really have in that scenario. But I guess, you know, you got to hat tip Jayden Daniels. He had an interception on like their third drive of the game. But then they came back and they were able to score a touchdown to score on the final drive to actually get them the victory. They got a little lucky because Devontae Smith was walking around with grease on his hands for the Eagles' final play of the game, and just dropped a wide open pass that we've seen him make a million times that would have probably iced the game because they were at 2-minute warning, watching that one timeout. So if you can just get one more first down after that, that game's over. So they were kind of blessed, but shoot, this is the team of destiny, right? That's what we've been saying all season. They were able to get back into that game, run on the field, score a touchdown, and now like their playoff hopes are just about solidified with everything else that's happened in the NFC.
Yeah, it was a tale of the first quarter and then the rest of the game. The Commanders couldn't do anything right. I mean, they had 5 turnovers at the end of the game and still won that game. That rarely happens, and some brutal ones too. The 2 picks, like Jayden Daniels had the one early and then the one late, and then the last one felt like that was going to be the ball game. But again, he bounced back and comes back. I thought he was great with his legs today, especially on 3rd and 4th down. He had a 5-yard scramble on 4th and 4. That was huge. This was in the second quarter. They were down 21-7. He hits a big go ball to Diami Brown. He scrambles on 4th and 4, and then he hits the touchdown to Terry McLaurin against the blitz. And that touchdown against the blitz of Terry McLaurin was like his best play and throw of the game because it was a free runner thrown to his left, which isn't usually his strong suit either. Boom, gets it. Great scramble on 4th and 11 on the game-winning drive. He had a different game-winning drive scramble, and then he had another scramble for 29 yards on 4th and 11. I mean, he was just really good with his legs. But Jalen Hurts has some woes as a passer, but he's better than Kenny Pickett.
Hell yeah.
and you feel how the repercussions of not having a threatening passing game can just ruin and kneecap the entire offense. The Eagles had 6 successful runs in the first quarter. They had 4 the rest of the game. They went 4 for 24, 16.7% the rest of the game, or really the last 3 quarters. They had 5 explosive runs in the first quarter. They had 4 successful runs the rest of the game. Only explosive play in the last 3 quarters was that Pickett prayer to AJ Brown that he came down with. And that was with 13 minutes left in the second quarter. They didn't have an explosive play the rest of the game, and they only ran the ball 16%. They couldn't do anything. The Commanders' defense just squeezed on them because they weren't really scared of Kenny Pickett. And a lot of their success, the Eagles, and they still almost won it, was just getting a lot of PIs. I think they got 2 back-to-back, and then the next drive got another one, just spamming throws to AJ Brown. So I mean, that's what just happened on that side of the ball. I mean, they everything just got squeezed, but it just felt like Zach Bond had a rough game. CJ Gardner-Johnson gets ejected. Even with 5 turnovers, some things went their way, but the Commanders just kept at it, and they ended up pulling away. No more Grant Calcaterra blocking, by the way, for the Eagles. I mean, he had 2 catastrophic plays trying to block. And then also on the flip side, Jalen Carter had some huge moments, but then, that kind of went for waste when the other team was putting up 36 points. Anything else from this game? Brian Robinson fumbles. We got Jameson Crowder reemerging. Jameson Crowder. What? Jameson Crowder's back catching huge touchdowns. Anything else from this game that stood out to you other than Pickett just wasting away the rest of the game?
Well, the last thing I have, which is Pickett related, sticking with the fourth quarter, he had 12 dropbacks for 27 yards in the fourth quarter. And there's just, I know that there was the Devonta Smith drop, which would have added maybe 10 yards to that, but you're just not going to win a whole lot. 2.9 yards per dropback in the fourth quarter, while Jayden Daniels on the other side, 8.3 yards per dropback in the fourth quarter. It's just different games.
Yeah, different games. Yeah, third downs were totally different. Where Commanders, even when they don't get all the way to the first down, they're making it 4th and shorts. It was like any 3rd and long for the Eagles. It was like, all right, well, here goes Pickett running out of the pocket. I remember this in Pittsburgh. I know this exact operation. Yeah. We'll get to another former quarterback running out of the pocket, making mistakes for your favorite team's game, the other side of the ball, I guess. But we're going to move on to another. This was the afternoon kind of brouhaha. Always feels like these two teams play entertaining games. I think even the commentators talked about that. But the Vikings beat the Seahawks 27-24. Very entertaining game. They are now 13-2, battling for that 1 seed. Battling for the NFC North. They're in. I mean, the Lions took home against the Bears, but they're still battling for it. Those Vikings. Back and forth game. Sam Darnold finishes with 246 yards, 3 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson goes 10 for 144 with 2 touchdowns. Jordan Addison does his best Robin impression, 5 for 35 for 1 touchdown. Geno Smith was a freaking rocket launcher back there. He just stood there and just launched them. I guess I'm going to talk about it. 315 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 picks. JSN had a nice game, 95 yards for a pick. DK Metcalf, 57 yards and a pick. Or I'm sorry, a touchdown. JSN had a touchdown. I'm sorry. DK Metcalf had a touchdown and a very loose, sloppy route that forced a pick at the end of the game. Charles, watching the Vikings, Seahawks, Nate Burleson, Steve Hutchinson, Mike Tice Bowl, what were some of your takeaways?
Man. Also the Adrian Peterson Bowl.
Adrian Peterson, yeah.
Did have a hot cup of coffee in Seattle.
John Randall and Warren Sapp, also other Viking Seahawk guys. I'm trying to think of some other ones. Some others will come up as you're talking.
I think the thing that I left this game with, I was actually, it sucks because at what point in the season that they lost? 8-7 at this point with the Rams winning today. That's a killer. But Seattle's offense, I thought, should be pretty pleased with how they performed, right? Considering like what we thought was going to happen coming to the game, because I thought they were just going to get like turbo nukes and wouldn't be able to do anything against the Vikings defense. But they even had decent day success rate rushing the ball. They had a much higher success rate overall than the Vikings did for this game. Yeah. in a game where I thought that, oh my God, like you see some of the pass protection woes, just overall offensive line lows the Seahawks have had. There just can't be another defensive coordinator that is just chomping at the bit to get after these guys, the Brian Flores. But Geno Smith stood tall back there. DK Metcalf has some really big plays down the field. And I just came away like feeling a little bit better about Seattle's offense and maybe where they are moving forward for next year, because that was a tough defensive play. They were put together. Geno Smith, like you said, rocket launchers down the field. I mean, his ability to just kind of stay unfazed and stay composed and just keep dropping back and firing and trying to make plays, that was really impressive. So it's a tough one to lose for Seattle. You just kind of got Justin Jefferson at the end of the game.
Yeah,
he's really good. It's going to happen sometimes. But if they can sneak into the playoffs, I think that was a somewhat encouraging performance from their offense moving forward.
Yeah, they have if they win out, they got at Bears, at Rams. They got 44% chance according to the New York Times playoff model. I'm with you. The running, it's a classic why success rate matters, because like if you just looked at their base like rushing stats, you'd be like, oh, it's not that great. You know, Kenneth Walker went 8 for 31 and all that. But yeah, but they're actually getting those efficient gains. And Geno was just chucking it back there. They had 9 explosive passes today, 0 explosive runs. And Geno was pressured 17 times, but only sacked twice, which is pretty. That was the ball game right there. The fact that he was able to stay upright to launch it, to be that rocket launcher. Felt like the Vikings ran a lot of cover 2. So to me, they were kind of going, well, we can just win with 4, maybe some funkiness up front as opposed to blitzing. And we're going to just make Geno stay back there and chuck it. And he chucked it. He put it up and he was willing to do it. They didn't do any play action. I had a non-play action stat here from Next Gen Stats. Geno went 3 for 5 for 7 yards on play action and a pick. No play action, 28 of 38 for 307 yards. So they were and that's how you have to beat this Vikings defense. This is what we talked about on Thursday was you have to have a quarterback that can operate without play action, that can just scan the whole field and chuck it. And we're like, the Seahawks have that. It's just, can they keep them upright? And today, off of Geno's own operation and pass protection, they were able to do it. So it was actually pretty cool. But this is the thing about this Vikings offense, though. It's like just when you think, okay, all right, they're making it tough on them. We're getting some pressure there. Like I felt like the Seahawks were getting home a little bit, even without blitzes and everything. It's just they can just gash you at a moment's notice. Or there's Darnold stepping up. That was second touchdown he had to Jefferson was beautiful as he's getting smoked on it. And Jefferson just makes a nice catch on it as well. The first touchdown was really nice. Addison was getting going early, and then they just moved the ball kind of to Jefferson. But that Vikings offense kind of just makes it really, really tough on no matter kind of who they go against.
And even today, Seattle, they did a really good job stopping the run against the Vikings. On the first and second down, the Vikings were held to 24 carries for 81 yards. A success rate of 31% on those plays.
Really good.
So, dude, I know it's frustrating when this happens to you. But, as a defense, like if you can say, man, we got them in the 3rd and long pretty consistently, beat up the run game, you got by who I think is the best receiver in football at the end of the game. So I think it's really cool for the Vikings. Like the Vikings have a chance at the number 1 seed if they win out for the rest of the playoffs. So that's a big win for them. It did give me a little juice for the NFC playoff race, because I think that we've had so many bad teams this year. Like even the 9th pick right now, the draft for today is like held by a 4-10 team. And there's a squash of 3-11 teams in the middle before you get to 2-13 Giants at the top. So the playoff race hasn't been that exciting, but this game did get me a little juice for it because, you got to see some of the best players at the position play well. And then just to ice it at the end, Justin Jefferson going ballistic. That's what we're here for.
I think just because the Eagles lost, if the Vikings went out, they host the Packers and they go at the Lions, they got the number 1 seed. So, I don't know, no matter this Vikings team, and even when I wrote about it last week, it was like, even when it's not perfect for them, they find a new way to kind of just go, oh yeah, they're good at this, like, oh, okay, they can go to Addison if they take away Justin Jefferson, or go to Hawkinson now. Oh, they can run the ball if you're just going to really take away, play soft boxes and cover 2 and all that. Oh, they can answer the blitz, even though you can get some pressure. And then it's like on defense, it's that, make Geno Smith beat you over and over and then take away the run game. Okay, they can make it a slog, but they always just find like a new answer. And that's why I kind of like, even in my article, is like, some of the pass protection stuff is a little worrisome because I've seen that just cripple so many teams trying to make a playoff run, but they've shown ways to mitigate it. Darnold can mitigate it a little bit. They're so aggressive on offense. I don't know, just for lack of a better phrase, they find a way to win. But they just keep kind of beating these good teams and keep stacking them up. So deservedly fighting for that number 1 seed, I think. All right, we are going to take our first break and then come back with a couple more games for the 5th quarter.
Introducing Daily Draw, the latest free-to-play game from Yahoo Sports. Daily Draw gives you a pack of 6 prediction cards every day based on the day's biggest sporting event. Download or update the Yahoo Sports app on the Apple App Store or Google Play and join the action with Daily Draw today.
All right, we are back and we're going to some rookie quarterback discourse and Atlanta Falcons discourse. That's the Falcons beat the Giants 34-7. Drew Lock made it nice. He really wanted to welcome Michael Penix in his first start. Had a couple picks, a little pick six, 2 pick sixes. Michael Penix finished 18-27 for 202 yards. He had a pick, but that was kind of a fluke off of Kyle Pitts' kind of botched catch. Bijan Robinson had some real nice, tough running today. 22 carries, 94 yards. He had 2 touchdowns as well. Thank you for my fantasy teams. But yeah, Giants now have the number 1 seed for next year's draft. No, number 1 seed. They are drafting number 1 if the season were to end today, which is like my 1 preseason prediction. I might get correct. Watching Michael Penix, though, Charles, watching your Falcons today, what were your thoughts? What were your quick takeaways as you enter the rookie quarterback discourse for the next couple of weeks?
The first play of the game, I almost keeled over laughing because the first thing they did with no Kirk Cousins in the game is run a damn bootleg.
It's so funny.
Literally the first play. They have been waiting for this. Like all year. Zach Robinson's like, oh my God, my quarterback, he might be Michael Vick, but he don't have his feet glued to the floor in cement, like we were doing for the past few weeks. And you could just tell, the Giants suck like that. No team should be losing 34-7 to this Falcons squad. So, I think you do have to weigh that a little bit, but there's still some nice throws that Penix made, like on the first rollout. Threw a dime to Ray McLeod, who was draping coverage. It hit him right in the chest, and he dropped it. And then they had another drop on that drive. But just like some of the decisiveness that you saw from him throwing over the middle, which we didn't always see him do at Washington. I thought he had some nice throws to Drake London. The Falcons had 0 sacks in this game, and I think he played a part in that too, and his ability to, unlike Kirk, like you just not stand there when things are going wrong. Like you don't have to be the flightest of foot, but if you can just move around a little bit, you can buy yourself some time to, maybe make something happen and avoid some of those negative plays. So the biggest thing that I thought from him in his first game was, you walk out of the game with 0 sacks and the 1 interception bounce off someone's hands. That, it was kind of an interesting play because Kyle Pitts probably should have caught it, but even if they caught it, they had no timeouts and there were like 6 seconds left. So there was also the other scenario here was like the clock just runs out and that looks really embarrassing. But instead, you just get to laugh at someone else, which always feels kind of good. So, they escaped out of that situation. Then you get to the end of the game. You just keep the ball safe, make some explosive plays. Don't look stupid. That's fine because Drew Lock did plenty of that for the Giants. Dude, Drew Lock might as well have been wearing red and black. Like if you ever see a Madden glitch where sometimes the other player are wearing like your team's jerseys, that's what it felt like watching Drew Lock. 2 pick sixes, a fumble, missed like some of the easiest throws you'll see. That was just treacherous football from the Giants.
A lot of forays outside the pocket that were aimless forays outside the pocket for Drew Lock today. It was every start with Drew Lock feels the same. You might get a cool scramble early. It's always the opening scramble. First quarter, Drew Lock can do some things. And then it's like the other team just goes, it's Drew Lock. Like, what are we doing? We just corral him. Just take him down. Like, get him to do something stupid here. I was trying to find some stat with Penix throwing on the move and seeing if like he had more today. Then he had 3 today. Cousins only has 20 on the whole season. So, he's already chipping away where Cousins is at. And that was with a lot of clean pockets today.
Yeah.
I know Caleb McGarry is now the blindside protector, but I actually did think the Falcons protection was pretty good today. I know. I actually was really enjoying watching Penix because then just like watching him at Washington's because he's going to chuck it. So sometimes the accuracy he can lose some accuracy stuff, like, you know, just especially when he has to move off the launch point. But I thought today, I'm glad you brought up the Ray McLeod throw on that first drive. That was great because he was under pressure. He had another couple other throws as he was getting hit. I thought he was hitting the in-breakers like over and over and over and over. I mean, I felt like they hit 6 of them today, 7 of them, which is really good because that's where I want to see the consistent accuracy. You know, him scrambling is still
it's work in progress.
Yeah, it's whatever. It's like he's not gonna fool anyone, and like you're gonna be like scared of him running, but he can do it, you know. And I just thought that he had some really good feel in the pocket. Like I thought that he was really progressing like in a timely manner where it wasn't just like he was hanging on something to get open. I thought it was a soft landing spot going against this Giants defense, but it was as positive as you could hope for a guy making his first start. So.
Dude, I mean, it's not like the Falcons, they haven't played the toughest schedule of defenses this year, and they still got pummeled. So to even do this against the Giants is kind of a step up from where they were recently. And they get the Commanders, Panthers to close the season, so we'll see. The Commanders defense has been a little better.
Jayden Daniels will be fun.
That will be fun. Sunday Night Football, and then you get Penix, Bryce Young for the crown of who's the best young quarterback in the NFC South.
I also the Falcons defense has been doing some nice things, at least or a couple players I should say. Ebiketie has had some really nice moments stepping up his pass rush. You kind of gave him a shout out. Yeah, Ellis, blitzing wonder. Oh my God, yeah, I know he's really had some nice moments too. I got to see some Malik Neighbors today in that game as well, and he's twitchy. I'll tell you that much. Still have some stuff, but he can keep his balance with the ball in his hands and everything. So I saw him catching one on AJ Trail. That was pretty fun to watch them going back and forth. Yeah. All right. Moving on or moving back to Saturday's games because this was a fun one. Well, first we had the Chiefs and Texans. I'll give some Chiefs thoughts after we wrap this one up. But then we had one that was a little more interesting for a lot of the game before the Ravens pulled away. The Ravens won this 34-17. This was our Otto Haas fight. It felt very Haas fighty for a while. We also saw some Russell Wilson turn the clock back. He hit some balls over the middle. Had a scramble early in the game that did not go so well at the end of it. But I thought he had some really nice throws. But the Ravens, took it second half. Really clamped down a little bit. You could just see their offense attacking so many different ways. It was kind of the tight ends day in that game, but saw some Rashad Bateman touchdowns. Zay Flowers got in there. Derrick Henry finishes 24 carries for 162 yards. And Lamar finishes with 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. But that was the Ravens taking it home in their rematch. There was no Tomlin magic in this game. But, it was interesting for a little bit. Some of the AFC Nest slobber knocker going on. Charles, what were some of your takeaways in this Ravens victory?
Man, Lamar Jackson's pretty good at football.
Isn't he?
Pretty good. I was just happy to see them just get past this hurdle for them, I guess, because it's kind of like what we said when we were talking about the game last week, where you did slow down the Ravens offense the first game. But do it again. I mean, this is one of the best offenses in the league for a reason. Derrick Henry got fed like crazy in this game. He had 24 carries, a few big runs. Lamar Jackson was great. So I think that this is important not only for like playoff status because the Steelers, they hold the tiebreaker for now. But if you can just get one more win or 2 more wins and they drop one by the end of the season, then you're right back playing a home game. In a couple of weeks when the playoffs start. So. Just kind of reestablishing yourself in the pecking order. Like, no, we can do this. Lamar Jackson can have a good game against the Steelers. We can go out there and score 34 points against one of our biggest rivals that we struggled against. So I thought that was good for them as the playoffs get closer, just to have that cohesive performance. Baltimore's defense is getting better. But even with that, I did think the Steelers had a quality game on offense.
I did too.
Like, it was better. It was certainly better than the game against the Eagles a couple of weeks ago because even the success rate wise, they really run the ball well. Just turnovers.
It was way better than I was expecting. Like it was way more like they actually were having good drives and everything.
They were.
Way better than expected.
Turnovers, man. You had the Russ fumble on the scramble, the pick 6 of Humphrey late in the game, and that's just kind of where it got away from them. But the Ravens good. Steelers, I would say, it could be worse. It could have been worse. And hopefully when George Pickens gets back, you figure out just how to sustain a few more drives and actually get the ball into the end zone.
Yeah, other guys were stepping up. You had some Jalen Warren catching it and running the ball. Calvin Austin had a catch on the sideline, which felt like a magic trick. It was like the ball went up in the air, and all of a sudden Calvin Austin's just falling down on the sideline with the ball in his hands. I still was trying to figure it out. Yeah, I made a joke about this, kind of going, who's Arthur Smith going to call plays for? Michael Pruitt and Cordero Patterson? And Michael Pruitt and Cordero Patterson both finished with receiving touchdowns. That kind of was just like, oh, that's exactly the auxiliary targets that he's going to dial up plays for. It actually worked out. But yeah, it just felt like that it was a much better performance from that Steelers team going against a Ravens defense that had done so well defending the run and knew that the Steelers were probably going to be run first. And they were getting creative. I saw a couple new runs in there, different types of concepts. And that's kind of like why I like Arthur Smith stuff. But yeah, man, Lamar, Steelers actually finished with a higher rushing success rate, which just kind of blows your mind a little bit. Ravens finished with 6 explosive runs, including a 25-yarder, a 44-yarder. But then Lamar was peppering the tight ends, beating man coverage. He had 152 yards and 2 touchdowns against man, was beating blitz. I mean, it's so hard to stop this team because it's like, all right, well, we'll run zone. All right, they're going to run it on us, or they throw it to the tight ends. All right, we'll run man. All right, well, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, one of the tight ends, or they run something else. They run their quarterback run game in there because that beats man coverage too. You get the guys all kind of convoluted. So, man, this Ravens team on offense just finds a way to cook no matter what. Sometimes they lose their way. I'd say Todd Monken sometimes gets a little, he has some stuff you could tell he always wants to get to something. Like he always is like, hey, I want to show what this new kind of package of plays. And it's like, they feel like they waste a couple series every game, like usually in the second quarter. It's always like midway through the second, they always kind of lose their way, but they always find a way to pull out these games. And it's a very good offense, improving defense, like you said, but it was a good performance from that Steelers offense. All right, we are going to take our last break, come back with some grab bag thoughts and our game balls for week 16. All right, we are back to wrap up the 5th quarter. Gonna do just the thoughts on the other Saturday game. This is more Chiefs tweaks. We saw some Joe Thuney at left tackle, which I thought was interesting. Oh yeah, he can do that. Chiefs beat the Texans, and kind of it was just, they felt like they kind of matriculated in this game. This is how the Chiefs kind of win every game. They just win the first down battle. Game goes along. They don't make mistakes, and then all of a sudden they're winning by 2 scores. This is 1 score, but it felt like 2 scores. But yeah, Joe Thuney at left tackle. I just want to talk about Trent McDuffie in the slot was the other thing I wanted to talk about in this game. McDuffie had we talked about this though. That's why I think it's interesting. Chiefs were getting peppered in the slot the last few weeks. Their defense was kind of having some iffy things, defending the pass. They put McDuffie from outside back in the slot. He'd only been in the slot for 14 snaps since week 7. Last 2 weeks, basically double that, 26 snaps. He has 4 PBUs and 2 picks over the last 2 weeks just from the slot. So good choice. A good choice to put McDuffie back in there. We had some brutally efficient long Chief drives in this game. CJ Stroud, some up and down this, some awesome throws, some bad picks. But any other thoughts from this game? But I just kind of wanted to tie a little bow on the Chiefs pulling out another win, and now we're 14-1.
Yeah, I mean, there's just it's so tough, everything's so bad in Kansas City as they're 14-1.
Terrible.
One game a win, or one win away from getting the number 1 seed, and the road to the playoffs go to Kansas City. To 14-1, it's crazy. I mean, you can have all the concerns you want, but they were able to win 14 games this year, and this week, it might have been one of their better performances of the season offensively. Maybe not of the season, but in recent weeks, for sure. They averaged 3 points per drive, which is exactly what you want. Like that's what you're looking for, like from an elite offense. If you can score, about 3 points per drive, that's where you want to be. So that's where they were this week.
Yeah,
it's elite. They had a 53% success rate through the air on dropbacks. Like, I don't know.
Like,
I do
what
understand
else do you want?
I know. I understand what
entertained?
I understand what people are concerned about this, but they still have. I know Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, but they still have the best quarterback in football. They still have Andy Reid. I mean, the offensive line looks all right. A team is down bad when they're like, we've run through all 3 answers. Joe Thuney, can you play left tackle for us? And he looked all right. Honestly, he did.
He's done it before.
Right. But it's funny because that's your last option, right? Our all-pro left guard playing left tackle, but he did in the pinch because they just had to do something. So at least you can get a good quality player in that spot, and they were able to hold up a little better. Didn't run the ball too well this week, in their quest to win this game. But hey, Mahomes was great. You figured out how to throw against defense. You averaged 0.3 EPA per dropback throughout the whole game, which is pretty wild. So hey, man, maybe they're peaking at the right time, and maybe they're still really good because they're 14-1 and they have Patrick Mahomes.
Yep, I know. Their defense maybe not as good as last year, but still good. No. That's the thing. Yeah. And their offense is better than last year, which won the Super Bowl. And now they got Hollywood Brown back, and he actually felt like he made a difference right away. So, yeah, the Chiefs just keep on winning. I'm kind of liking what I saw on Saturday. All right, now it's time to give out our game balls for week 16.
Doctor, is he gonna make it?
I'm sorry. He's got that dog in
All right, Charles, who gets your game ball for week 16?
Justin Jefferson. I mean, that's dude, 10 catches, like you said before, 10 catches, 144 yards, 2 touchdowns. I've just been so damn impressed with him because over, let's call it the past, 12 months of his life, there's been like no quarterback consistency there for him because because now, Darnold played all of this year, but last year he had 3 guys throwing him the ball, and the production, it never wavers. It never wavers. If he's on the field
I know,
and he is breathing, has 2 hands attached to his body and can run, he's good for whatever. Because they had Jake Browning throwing the ball, they had Kirk Cousins throwing the ball, they got Sam Darnold throwing him the ball. It doesn't matter. And he just keeps showing up. I think he's like, he's one of the best receivers I've ever seen. He's the best receiver of like this era. If we're doing like post AB, Julio Jones, that class, I think he's the best of this era. And he showed it again today. Like I am pumped that we're going to get to watch them play in the playoffs with KOC. Darnold's feeling it. Justin Jefferson's playing well. It feels like the passing game for the Vikings has really come together in a way that's hard to stop. And he's the engine of it. So game ball.
I love it. No, it's so cool to watch that whole offense. Just kind of like it's based off of him. Darnold's the trigger man and everything right now, but it's based through Jefferson. We run this run because Justin Jefferson gets us this look. We throw it to this guy because Justin Jefferson gets us this look. So he's the best receiver to me right now, and probably one of the best I've ever seen, period. And I just love it because what you're bringing up, no matter what who the quarterback is because he affects the game no matter what. He's not just a deep ball guy. He's not just a sideline guy. He's not just a yak guy. He does everything. Lines up in the slot, outside, catches over the middle, catches outside. It's just so much fun to watch him. So great game ball. I am going to the ground game. Wanted to give one to Chuba Hubbard and the Panthers, but they're getting an honorable mention. I'll give them an honorable mention. I had to give this one, though, to Jonathan Taylor from the Colts and the Colts rushing attack overall. Jonathan Taylor finished with 29 carries, 218 yards, 3 touchdowns, held onto the ball both times when he crossed the plane.
Very intentional.
Some long ones there. Oh, man, that Colts stats for a while. I honestly didn't realize the Titans came back because that game did not make my multi-view in the second half. But the Titans did come back in the second half there, but the Colts won 38-30. They barely even had to throw the ball. Anthony Richardson went 7-11 for 131 yards. How many sacks did he take? Only took 1 sack there, too. But he was able to get going. They really just have figured out, okay, let's just run him a ton as well. So we got some Anthony Richardson runs in there as well. But Jonathan Taylor getting going, holding on to the ball, bunch of touchdowns, bunch of yards for the Colts as they cling on to their playoff hopes. I think it's like at 10% or something at this point in time. But yes, big win for the Colts.
Where was this a week ago? Like
a week ago, man.
And I know, I understand why he did it, but man, watching, like, I think on the first touchdown he scored, he held the ball all the way into the tunnel. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, dude,
he's the Bo Jackson of holding onto the football, just running into the tunnel with it.
Dude, you're getting closer to double-digit years in the NFL, man. Maybe you just want to act like it sometimes. But hey, they got the win, still alive for whatever that means, and they'll get to see what happens in the next 2 weeks.
They're at 13% right now, according to the New York Times. They have at Giants and host the Jags. So not the, say if they win out, They have it at 27%. So 1 in 4 chance right there. So, well, that'll do it for the 5th quarter. Thank you for joining me, Charles. I'm Nate Tice. You can find me at Nate_Tice. Where can they find you, Chuck?
You can find me on Blue Sky, Forverts, Twitter, Forverts. I'm trying to decide where I want to let it settle down, because Blue Sky has got some weird ass people on there. It really does. A little bit. Some people who haven't touched grass in a while, but the alternative is just
it's Blue Sky, not green grass.
Right. So we'll take the Christmas break to reassess that, and I hope everyone rests, talks to their family. Does what they like to do, whether that's drink, not drink, and eat a bunch of food, just hang out, have a good time, take your mind off football, and just get some sleep. That's what I'm gonna do.
That's great. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do the same. Before I do that, you guys can send your mailbag questions, but send those to football301mailbag at yahoosports.com. Emails are great. Video, voice notes are even better, but subscribe to us, follow us, rate us, watch us on the YouTube at the Yahoo Sports YouTube channel. We will be back. We're going to take our little mini break for Christmas as well. Charles and I will be back for Thursday to preview week 17 and maybe recap those Netflix Wednesday games if they're juicy enough, as they play round robin. So those teams that we talked about Saturday, they're the ones that are playing on Wednesday, because that's how they have to do it. So they can say it's not a true short week. Guys are playing 3 games in 11 days. Good luck with that. But we will be watching it, maybe recapping it. We'll be previewing week 17 for the Thursday show. Thank you to Brett and Stone behind the scenes. Thank you all for listening. Enjoy your holidays. Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah. Happy holidays. Everything. Thanks for listening. Back with that pod on Thursday. See you guys then.